So, what can a 3,000-year-old epic about a catastrophic war really teach us about running a business in the 21st century? Well, as we're about to see, the answer is a whole lot, actually.
For decades, we've built business strategy on a pretty standard set of tools. But in the world we live in today, so volatile, so unpredictable, are those old playbooks really cutting it anymore? The argument we're digging into here is that maybe we need a different kind of wisdom, something a little more timeless.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to frame this ancient epic as a case study for right now. Then, we'll hit the battlefield to talk competitive strategy. After that, we'll see how winning teams are actually built, explore a leader's most important duty, and finally, wrap up with the long-term lessons of both winning and losing.
Okay, let's dive right in. Our first section, Ancient Wisdom, Modern Strategy, is all about looking past the usual boardroom playbook.
So, the core idea here is pretty simple, actually. The Mahabharata isn't just some dusty old story. No way. Think of it more like the ultimate high-stakes case study, where every strategic decision is literally a matter of survival. The lessons in it give us this incredibly powerful framework for tackling today's challenges. Doesn't matter if you're a startup founder trying to shake up an industry or a CEO guiding a massive company.
Let's move on to our second section, the battlefield of business. This is where things get really interesting, because we're going to translate ancient war tactics into modern competitive strategy.
Okay, to really get this, we gotta start with one super powerful idea, the Pareto principle. You probably heard of it as the 80-20 rule. It's a simple but honestly kind of brutal concept. You have to focus your energy only on the 20% of your efforts that will deliver 80% of your results. Everything else, it's just noise, it's a distraction. And check this out. This is that principle in action, right here. Picture this. Arjun has got one mission. Take out one key target, Jayadratha, before the sun goes down. But this legendary general, Drona, is standing in his way. He's a prestigious target, for sure, but he's not the main objective. So Arjuna makes this incredibly tough choice. He just bypasses Drona completely. In business, that's like ignoring a vanity metric. Something that looks impressive but doesn't actually move the needle, so you can focus on what really, truly matters. It is a total masterclass in strategic focus. And this wasn't just a one-time thing. The Pandavas were seriously outnumbered. They knew they couldn't win a head-on fight. So what did they do? They adopted a focused strategy, hitting specific weaknesses instead of charging into the enemy's strengths. This is the classic playbook for any underdog, any startup, any smaller company. If you can't outspend your competition, you absolutely have to outthink them. Okay, on to section 3, organizing for victory. Because let's be real, a great strategy is totally useless if your team isn't built to actually pull it off. True competitive advantage, the kind that lasts, it starts from the inside. And this is just a brilliant way to think about it. You know those ancient military formations, the vyuhas? Well, they worked a lot like a modern business tool called the BCG matrix, which helps companies figure out where to put their money. You got your star player, Arjuna, your go-to for high-growth attacks. Then you've got your cash cow, Bhishma. He's your stable, reliable defender. The whole point is knowing exactly who to send where and when. But here's the catch. A system like this is super fragile. And the story of Abhimanyu, man, it's just a tragic cautionary tale. He was this brilliant young warrior, a question mark, with huge potential. He broke through the enemy lines, but he was left all alone, without any backup, and was tragically lost. It's such a stark reminder. Having amazing talent isn't enough. Your organization has to be designed to protect it and help it grow. So the big question is, how do you know if your advantage is actually going to last? Well, there's this really cool 4-part test called the VRIO framework. Is your resource valuable? Is it rare? Is it hard to imitate? And finally, and seriously, this is the one almost everyone forgets, are you organized to actually take advantage of it? And this right here is the absolute key takeaway. Think about it. Both Arjuna and his big rival Karna had these insane, one-of-a-kind super weapons. They were both valuable, rare, and impossible to copy. But here's the difference. Only the Pandavas were organized to use their weapon at the perfect moment. Karna, on the other hand, was forced to waste his on a secondary target. He had a VRI advantage, but he totally failed the O test. And wow, did that failure cost him. I mean, it cost him everything. All right. Now we get to the really human part of all this in section 4, the leader's dharma. Because at the end of the day, even the world's best strategy is just words on a page without the right person to lead the charge and inspire people.
So get this. At the most critical moment of the entire war, the Pandava's star player, Arjuna, he just has a complete breakdown. He's ready to quit. But his mentor, Krishna, does something amazing. He doesn't just bark orders at him, he acts like a true transformational leader. He reframes the entire fight around this idea of dharma, doing your duty, what you're meant to do no matter the personal cost. And by empowering Arjuna to choose duty over desire, he gives him back his purpose. And listen, Dharma isn't just some abstract philosophy, it is strategy. In the business world today, that's what we call corporate governance, business ethics, stakeholder theory. It's all the same idea. An organization that operates with a clear sense of duty to its customers, its people, its community, builds trust. And in the long game, trust might just be the most valuable asset you can possibly have.
Okay, and for our final section, we're zooming out to look at the long game, winning and losing. This is all about resilience, planning for the future, and what it really takes for an organization not just to win, but to endure. Think about this. The Pandavas were exiled for 13 years. That should have been a complete disaster, right? Wrong. It actually became their greatest strategic advantage. They didn't just wait it out. They used that time for a total strategic renewal. They got new assets, they built new alliances, they learned new skills. I mean, it is a perfect example of turning a massive crisis into a huge opportunity. But here's the crazy part. This entire epic, this massive, catastrophic war, you can trace it all back to one single leadership failure: succession planning. The king, Dhritarashtra, he just couldn't separate being a dad from being a king. He put his own unqualified son on the throne instead of the rightful heir, and it plunged the entire kingdom into chaos. It's a lesson for the ages, really. Good governance has to trump personal feelings, every single time. And that one bad call, it just created this avalanche of failure. His son, the new leader Duryodhana, was driven completely by envy and ego. He got stuck in what you could call a doom loop, making one bad decision after another just to avoid admitting the first one was wrong. It's the sunk cost fallacy in its most destructive form, when your ego won't let you cut your losses and you end up riding a bad strategy all the way to the bottom. So, when you step back and look at the whole picture, you see it, right? The Mahabharata isn't just a bunch of cool stories. It's a full-on strategic playbook. It's got everything from competitive tactics, like the 80-20 rule, to internal frameworks like VRIO, all the way to leadership, ethics, and long-term planning. It is just this incredible, timeless guide for navigating our own pretty complex world. And all of this brings us to one final big question. We spend so much time and energy chasing the next big thing in strategy, don't we? But what if the most powerful, most transformative insights aren't new at all? What if they've been waiting right there for us for thousands of years? So the only question left for you is, what ancient wisdom is out there waiting for you to uncover?